What is up, everybody? Dave here with an amazing person I get to share the screen with. Sloan, Joseph Sloan. This chat tonight was on fire. I can't wait to sit down and talk about this a little bit. Just got to lead an amazing conversation and mastery chat that was literally on fire. We were just talking before I hit go live. You're still responding to people because messages are still popping up. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Talking TECHquity, talking multilingual learners. Ooh, that's a tough one for me to say. And all things equity, digital citizenship, you name it. Great conversation. I can't wait to unpack it. Are you going to be ready in about 52 seconds to recap all the conversation that you just had?
I will do my best. I'm excited. I'm ready. Let's get it.
All right, let's do this. So if you're joining us, be ready. Fill the comments with any extra questions you have. 52 seconds. We'll see you on the other side. All right, and we are back. I know you were just getting into it. I saw the dance there. I saw it. I caught you. What's up, everybody? Though I am Dave Schmitto. I am not Jeff Gargas. I know all the announcements said that Jeff Gargas was going to be hanging out with you tonight, but I heard that you were hosting. I brushed him to the side and said, Jeff, you got to get out of the way. I'm going to be hanging out a little bit here. I got a new friend I want to be able to spend some time on the screen with. So P. Sloan Joseph, one of the most memorable names in education today.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerhouse name because you are a powerhouse person. Before we start breaking down the chat, can you just introduce yourself to people real quick so they can know who you are, and then we'll jump into Mastery Chat and all of the amazing conversation?
Yes, I am Sloan. I am from South Carolina, and I've been in education for 18 years. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an educator, I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast called Greater is in Me, where I just talk about the intersection of my life as a wife and as a mom and as an educator. And, you know, we laugh a lot. Well, we laugh a little bit. We learn a lot. And so, you know, my passion topics are school and classroom culture, engagement, equity, SEL, technology, and how do we bring all those things together? And so tonight I was able to create, a conversation around all those things that, just really make me very, very happy. I've just had the pleasure to work in a lot of different environments, K-4 through 12. I've worked at schools that receive Title I funding, schools that have, an unlimited amount of resources, alternative school, and those different types of experiences have helped me to build this lens that I have to want to create equitable and inclusive learning environments for all students. And when I say all, I mean all.
Oh, yeah. And that was the theme of the night, is how to really engage and bring in all learners. It was a powerful conversation. As I told you beforehand, before I hit go live, it was a great conversation for me because a lot of the themes and ideas that you were throwing out there I wasn't all that familiar with. So you were truly introducing me to new concepts, new conversations, and new topics. And I'm sure other people agree. I see some of our friends here that definitely agree that you brought the fire tonight. Ray throwing out all the green hearts. Susan, another amazing chat. I agree. And the intersectional conversation tonight was just absolutely incredible. It was absolutely phenomenal. So I got to ask you though. So the theme of the night, the topic, TECHquity. So first of all, catchy title, catchy name, catchy theme, but super important and powerful conversation. Just do me a favor real quick and set the stage. What is TECHquity? What is that all about?
So it's just a combination of technology and equity. And so technology can just be apps and tools and any type of, resource. And how do we use that to break down these barriers for students. And even though we talked about multilingual learners, what I found through my research is what works for them works for our students that are not multilingual, that have one language, they only speak English, that it works for SPED, these strategies, these things that I talk about in a presentation that is based off of this. And so that equity is, equity for education is creating physical safety first, social emotional safety second. And if you do those two things, then you will have academically safe environments where students can be successful. So once you create that environment of equity and combine that with technology, that's where you get TECHquity. And one of the things that we kind of talked about tonight is people were saying, access to technology. It can't just be access to technology. It has to be opportunities to use that technology in different ways, and also making sure that there are highly qualified educators that know what to do, why to do it, and how to use that technology to make sure that students are successful.
And that's interesting, because if I were to rewind a year ago, when everybody was going back home and we were really in a panic about the idea of the equity gap that existed and the lack of devices in students' hands. In a lot of places, that was solved relatively quickly. In a lot of places, devices were found, funds were secured, and kids were going home with Chromebooks, laptops, iPads, you name it. And they were given access. But it did not necessarily solve the underlying issue because, like you said, teachers didn't necessarily have the training. Students weren't necessarily utilizing the tools to secure foundational knowledge that they might have needed. So a year later, after devices are in students' hands, you're saying that this is still an issue that needs to be addressed. We didn't solve it just by throwing millions of Chromebooks out there and saying kids go home and learn on a device?
Absolutely not. I mean, you still have parts of the country, and the area where I live in an area where we're the largest school district in the state. And so we take for granted a lot, that our world is not the world. Like, I post that a lot on social media. Like, it is a privilege to live in an area where you have internet access. It's not even about a hotspot. It's about there are no towers in a lot of areas for students to be able to pick up, the internet. So it's like, yeah, I have a computer, but only one person can be on that device or on a device, because the more people that are on it, we don't have the bandwidth in our area. So it's adequate training for teachers so that they feel comfortable using it. The students have to know all of the accessibility tools that are there. They have to be able to use those accessibility tools so that they can maximize their learning. But if you've not gone through that training because you've just been given the device but not the training, then there's still a gap. And so we still have work to do. We're a lot further than we were, but just always developing ourselves and trying to say, what more can we do? And until everyone has that access, then we need to keep on pushing.
It's interesting you talk about that, just the bandwidth issue. I'm hearing this right now and I'm thinking, man, I come from such a place of privilege, because this week, right now, actually, I am about 1,000 miles from home and I am in a hotel. Bandwidth has been a struggle for me all week long, trying to access meetings. And I've been telling everybody, shut down all your devices. I've got work to do, shut them down. But that's not my normal life. That's not how I typically have to access information. It's been such a struggle this one little week while I'm on vacation. Right. And you're putting out the fact, yeah, people have devices. I've got a device sitting right in front of me right now. I've got a phone sitting next to me. It's one thing to have the device, but if you can't access it and truly utilize it, we take so much for granted. So I'm curious, when you brought this topic out, it was for a reason, not just to educate, but what are you hoping starts from this? Are you hoping just to get people engaged in the conversation, to say, let's lean in and realize this is still an issue we have to tackle? Or are you hoping that after this amazing chat, which again, still going, I can see my notifications continuing to increase here, you still have people engaged in this chat right now. Are you hoping that that's what results, that people will just continue to talk about it?
That is always my goal. No matter if I'm doing a Twitter chat, whether I am just a quick conversation, a presentation, a podcast, is to just sow that seed and get people to think like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that happened. Did you know that happened? And talking to their PLN. And what I'm hoping is that people won't see these things that I'm talking about during this chat as something else to do. It's just what we do. And so providing access opportunities and high quality instruction using technology, providing TECHquity for our multilingual learners, it's not in addition to what you're doing for your students who are English speakers. Again, the tools you're going to use, your Flipgrids, your Padlets, your commonsense.org, all of these things that we kind of talked about in the chat, you're already using them with your other students. So how can you use those? Just thinking about, oh, I already use this tool, just trying to just shift that thought process and be more intentional about, so how can I also use this tool to break down this barrier and to keep the conversation going about not just access, but do students have access opportunities and the people standing in front of them have quality training where they're comfortable enough to show our students what to do, and also our parents, because especially for those students that are virtual, they're still at home full time, because where I am, we have a little bit of a blend. If they're spending most of their time at home and that's where they're getting their learning, we've got to be able to also educate our parents so they can support us. We can't ask them to support us on something that they're uncomfortable with. They are an extension of school. And so we've got to be able to create opportunities for them to learn so they can actively and effectively support their students.
No, it's so good. That's so good. And I love the fact that people are still dropping comments in this. They're not even just in the Twitter chat right now. They are here joining us in this conversation. So I love it. Some powerful conversations. It's just what we do, not in addition to what we do. Love the comment. So good. I agree with that. So if you were part of the chat tonight and you've got some comments, some follow-up questions, just some insights you want to throw, put them in here so that Sloan can see them, address them. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask my own questions because I've got the microphone right now and I've got the camera, and I'll take control unless you drop your comments here. So I got to ask you about the lens of the multilingual learners. I found that intriguing, this idea of TECHquity, and then that extra twist into the conversation. Why was that an intention on your part? You say your research has identified that basically what's good for multilingual learners is good for all students or the majority of students. So why not just leave it as the conversations about TECHquity for all? Why TECHquity for multilingual learners?
Because that is one of the fastest growing populations in our country. And in order for them to be able to socially and economically contribute to our society, they're going to have to be able to be responsible digital citizens. They're going to have to be able to listen, speak, write. They're also going to have to be able, one of the things that I didn't think of, and I've been a technology person, a technology teacher since 2003. So listening, writing, speaking, all of those things are what we're used to them being able to achieve. But they have to know how to view videos because of technology and how we use it for entertainment versus education. How do they view this video of instruction and then use that information for communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity? How do they do that? The same skills that we're building with other students. How do we do that when they're trying to learn a second language and the culture here, which may be different than their culture, and not putting them all in a box, because some of our students, their situation and why they're here is different than someone else's. And so not making those assumptions, but saying, okay, just like I would ask a English speaking student, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? How do you want to contribute to society? How do you want to contribute to your family? Making those cultural connections through technology is the easiest way. It breaks down those barriers, the language barrier and all of those things. And it helps them to acquire the language a lot faster if it's done the right way. And so that's another reason why training teachers on tools that can be used to close those gaps is very important, because you can't just give it to them just like you wouldn't just give it to someone else. You got to be able to do that. So if we want them to be successful and be socially responsible and economically responsible upon graduation, we've got to train and develop.
Sloan, I got to tell you, I absolutely loved your answer there. And I love everything you're putting on the table. So I'm going to just be very transparent and maybe a little overly vulnerable here. So it's been 12 years since I had my own classroom. I left teaching to become an administrator, and it's been 12 years, which seems like a lifetime ago, especially when I hear this, because 12 years ago, when I had those students, I'm using the air quotes right now for those students, the students that struggled speaking the language that I was speaking, I sent those kids away to receive instruction from somebody else in another room who was the expert. And I'm hearing you talk now, and that seems like such a foreign concept. Like those kids, shame on me for sending those kids away instead of embracing those kids and saying, what can I do to help reach those kids so that, because they are my kids. So tonight's conversation was really about helping our kids really learn and grow. Those kids that don't speak the same language as you or me, that are learning a new culture, like you just addressed, it's so much more than just learning the language. They are overcoming so many other barriers just to access the information we are trying to provide. So I appreciate so much that you put that out in the forefront tonight and said, let's have this conversation. Granted, it was a 60-minute speedy conversation. And I'm sure your thumbs are sore from just flowing through those comments.
I'm going to respond. If you are waiting on me to respond, as soon as I get off of here, I'm going to respond. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm curious, when you were going through for those comments that you were able to catch up and speed through, was there anything that somebody said or responded that made you stop and say, like to pull an Arsenio Hall moment on, was there anything that just made you say, and made you think or ponder, or something that you just thought was extremely powerful that you want to try to amplify for all of us? I'm putting you on the spot here to amplify somebody else.
Well, I really enjoyed the answers about SEL because I think SEL is for everybody. And so just because you speak a different language, you still need to be someone who is self-reflective, socially aware, making responsible decisions. How are you building relationships with people? And again, there's a lot of cultural barriers there. And so what may be socially acceptable where they are coming from or in their culture may be seen in a negative light here. And so helping them to be able to code switch, let's say, so that they know, listen, there are certain things and that you have to do or have been raised to do when you're in your home, and that's fine. But when you come to school, you don't have to do those things because here, this is a safe space. We want to get to know you. We want you to educate us. This is a back and forth. This isn't about you just learning about our culture, but us learning about your culture so that we can make this environment, like I said before, physically safe for you, socially, emotionally safe for you, and then we can get to academic safety and success. And so all of the comments around SEL, people seeing that our multilingual learners, they need to build those social emotional skills as well. But how do we do that if there's a language barrier? We use technology to speed up that process, but we have to know how to use those tools to do that. And I gave a shout out to commonsensemedia.org. They have English and Spanish resources, but we have, I think there's a misconception that everybody that's, multilingual is Spanish. And so they can use their computer to change it to their language and engage in those resources. And those resources are for students, teachers, and parents working together.
Oh, that's good. That's good. The piece that you led off with in this about it not always being a one-sided conversation. Oftentimes we look for tools that help the student translate what it is that we're trying to put out there. That's such a small piece of this. We know the power of amplifying student voice and perspective. For all of our students, we need to make sure that we are doing all that we can to lean into who they are, their identities, their cultures, all things about them. So providing that access two-way, I think, was super powerful. If it's okay, go ahead.
To give just some. Now, while we're talking about it, I'm just looking at, I want to make sure I'm giving out some resources to some folks. So the back and forth about culture, we know about our American culture. And so we can teach on that. We've got resources all day, but sometimes people are like, well, I can't connect with them and have them tell me about their culture or learn more about their culture. I don't know where to go with so much information. So let me kind of minimize that and give you some good starting points. So again, Common Sense Media, Cult of Pedagogy is always a good place to go. Just go there and kind of type in whatever the topic is that you're trying to learn about, and you're going to get some quality stuff there. Edutopia is another resource that I use a lot. Flipgrid has a lot of pre-made grids that are already there that you don't have, you can watch and kind of add to and edit. Learning for Justice, which was formerly known as Teaching Tolerance, it's now been renamed to Learning for Justice. So those are just some resources that I would encourage people to use, no matter what cultures are in your class. If you want a starting point, something that's practical, a lot of things that you can do the very next day to have that easy exchange and break down those barriers and build rapport, check out those resources.
That right there was worth the price of admission. If you've been waiting 20 minutes to say, get to the good stuff, that was it. Sloan just gave you all the resources you need to finish this year strong right there. If you're coming up on spring break or wrapping up your spring break in any capacity, if you're just rolling into the weekend saying, I want to learn something new, I want to explore, you just got the treasure trove right there. Throw all that stuff in your Easter basket and start pulling it out one at a time, and you're going to find some amazing things. So that's awesome. Sloan, I want to try to address a question here that Danae Acker throws to us in the comments. And as the guy that leads our admin mastermind for the Teach Better team, leaders come together once a week and are constantly throwing questions out at each other, trying to figure out ways that they can support their teachers, their students in the ways that they really need, trying to break out of the old admin mindsets of management. And this question, I think, is a powerful question. I'm curious to hear your response to it. The question that is asked is, how can leaders, admin, support TECHquity? What are some of the things that leaders need to do to support this in classrooms for students and for teachers?
So my answer to that is really simple. Admin, they're going to have to show up and show out. And what I mean by that is they've got to show up to those trainings as well and learn alongside their teachers. And then they've got to use those tools when they're presenting to the staff to show, not only did I go to the training with you, but I'm using this for learning experiences with the staff in the same way that I expect for you to use it with students. When I say show up and show out, I also mean that they have to show up in classes and inspect what they expect. And so if we've done training on Flipgrid, if we've done a specific topic, a specific strategy, we have to show up to see that that's being done in real time, not just in lesson plans, but actually the implementation. And then the show out is to affirm people when they're doing it well, and then provide additional support and suggestions when they're not. And that's okay, because we're all here to develop and making it a space where people they feel safe to make those mistakes, but that practice makes progress. And that's the environment. So it has to be a social, emotional experience for the teachers as well, a safe space for them to make those mistakes and fall forward, which is really progressing.
So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you in the hot seat here. I'm going to ask you to show up in this conversation and be very real. As somebody that is in the field doing this work day in and day out, you make the conversation seem easy. You make it seem like this is something that you just grab the tools, go to Common Sense Media, go to these places, find some resources, and boom, magic's just going to flow from you. It can't be that easy, can it? What are some of the struggles and some of the hurdles that you have experienced and breaking down this TECHquity divide?
I always, for me, I just start small. It's simple things like I see a kid in the hallway and they don't understand what I'm saying. And I just say, hold on a second. And I just get my phone and I go to Google Translate. Then the next thing you know, that kid doesn't know who I am. Like, they don't know because I'm an instructional coach. So they're like, is she an admin? Is she a teacher? They don't know. But then they just know that I'm somebody that took the time to stop and help them. And I didn't talk to them slow. I didn't talk to them loud, because that doesn't make a difference. I just used my technology to say, and then pass the phone back to them for them to type in my phone and switch it from whatever language they speak to English. And we work that way. Those small things, when those kids know you care, just like our English speaking students, when they know you care, then you start to build rapport. They come by my office, hey, Miss Joseph, with the little bit of language that they have. And so I think sometimes we think on this large scale, it may just be, okay, use images instead of a bunch of words, or just know what their accommodations are. Like, how do I modify this assignment? Getting in contact with you don't have to do it by yourself. That's another thing I want to say. You don't have to do it by yourself. The book that I used for this presentation that started off my research, I got it from the coordinator from my district. I ended up I was assigned to go to a meeting, and what she was saying just caught my heart. And I just stayed afterwards, and I was like, how do I use technology? And she was like, come with me. And she gave me all these books. It's just those small things. I think we just think about it on a big scale. And so right now, if I have a question about how do I adjust this, I'm going to talk to my ESOL director that's on campus. I have several people throughout the district I can email. I don't know it all, but I'm not afraid to ask. And then once I know it, I act like I know it. Like I act like I made it up myself. Because I didn't make up the word TECHquity. Somebody said that this summer in a chat, and I was like, oh my goodness. Now I put my spin on it with the multilingual learner, but I didn't make that up. And so we have to, that's why that PLN is so important, because we think we have to take it on ourselves, and we don't. And we can just chunk it piece by piece. And as long as you're trying, I think, and moving forward, I think that's what the kids and the parents appreciate.
So good. I mean, you nailed it right there. It's all about just get better. Take those small steps, but those small steps are huge for some people when they have never experienced anybody taking any steps in their direction. Yeah. That's so good. Just the idea that you get on a student's level and give them access to your phone and say, let's just talk. I love that. It's so good.
And I tell teachers, teachers that want to do better, and like you said, but they just feel so overwhelmed. I'm like, give them a word bank. Give them a fill in the blank. They can't write a whole sentence or a whole paragraph right now. So you write the paragraph how you want it to be written, and just leave some spaces and give them a word bank. That's going to build their confidence. Once you build their confidence, they will do anything for you because they feel good on the inside. And we can't give what we don't have. Our kids can't give us what they don't have. And so they don't feel good on the outside, on the inside. They can't give us anything on the outside. But if they know that you're going to have that support, you're just going to give them a little push. And this time you might give them 10 words in a word bank. And the next time is 7. And the next time is 3. But just bit by bit, those small, great things are all that we're asking for folks to do.
Oh, so good. I wish there was a way for us to just take what you just said there and embed it right within the chat that happened tonight, just to hear those words. That was so good, so powerful. I love that. Love that. I know there are other people out there like me who are huge fans of yours, or new fans of yours right now, that want to just continue to connect with you because you inspired an important conversation. You just showed off some of your wisdom, your intelligence, your heart, your empathy, all of the things. How can people continue to connect with you?
I'm on the Twitter, as the folks say. I'm on the Twitter at P Sloan Joseph, and that's PSLOAN JOSEPH. And that's the best way if you want to just send me a direct message, and then I can send you like all of my other information. And if you go to my account, I have my link tree that's in my profile. And so you can see links to the podcast, links to, my resume and all the different presentations that I do. So if you want me to work with you personally, come to your school, work with your organization, we can figure out, what are your goals and what I can do to provide, those services for you. So just hit me up on the Twitter.
Presentations. You do speaking and things like that, do you?
Kind of like working with a group called the Teach Better team.
That's awesome.
I am one of the a part of the speakers network, and I do enjoy learning and sharing, and that's the part of presenting that I like. Is yes, I love going to conferences to share what I learn, what I know, and what I think is important. But I also love, like, after my sessions are over, I'm like, okay, let me find somewhere to go because I love to learn. I am, a diva nerd, and it's okay with me. And I just love learning. So yes, check me out with some Teach Better stuff. I do a little something here and there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Sloan, you were absolutely incredible tonight and always. I'm encouraging people, if they're just checking this recap up some other time, to go back, search the hashtag Mastery Chat, find the thread, join the conversation anytime, anywhere. It's the beautiful thing about the Twitter is that it doesn't go away. You can join the conversation. You can see the questions. You can see other people's responses. It's almost like you're doing one of those online grad classes where you're in a thread discussion. You have to respond once and then respond to 2 of your peers. I challenge you to do that. Go find a question. Yeah. Go find one of your one of the questions, answer it, and then find 2 other things to respond to. Continue to grow other people, and continue to learn, expand that network, because we're all better together. Sloan, again, you're amazing. You are incredible. Thank you for putting up with me and allowing me to sweep Jeff Gargis to the side. Well,
Jeff better watch out. You did
right?
Good job.
Spread that message. Jeff Gargis, you better watch out. I'm coming for your microphone, son. All right. Sloan, thank you so much. And everybody else, have an amazing night. Everybody if you got a long weekend ahead of you, enjoy some time with your family, enjoy some time with people that you love. And we're here for you. So have an awesome, awesome night.